Hey folks, what's shaking? We're going to do a real quick rundown here. Patch 10.2 is actually just going live now on servers, as you can see my little update rolling there at the bottom of my screen. But we're going to touch on an overall tier list here as we look at ranged classes going into Season 3. So overall, if you played any or even looked at any high-end Mythic Plus, you would have noticed that range absolutely dominated the meta. By far, and this is going to continue, augmentation is the champ. In my mind, what I think an enhancement shaman should be is what augmentation is. Just a huge buff for all the other classes that are around. That's S tier. Probably the only other class we're going to talk about S tier for Mythic Plus is going to be Balance. There's definitely a drop off, but Balance is in a fantastic spot between its tier set and everything else. Continuing on, Arcane is probably the best mage that's out there, and then I'd go Fire and probably Frost behind it. You could argue Frost maybe a little bit ahead of Fire. Overall, pretty fun for the most part, though, however. Now, as we continue building up our list, I think we've got a couple of funky choices that are next. We can talk about evokers further, and I've seen evokers all over the place. I've seen them as high as S tier, I've seen low as B tier. I'm putting them at the tail end of A or the start of B. Now you can use that interchangeably, but I actually think, like, similar to most hero classes that come with an expansion, we'll all be pleasantly surprised that Blizzard continues to pump dragons during Dragonflight the same way they pumped demon hunters during Legion. Shouldn't be a tremendous shock to many of us. Now, we're going to keep walking through our different classes here a little bit, and we're going to see a couple things. Warlocks are going to chew up, I'll call it most of B tier, with one exception. Wow, not super sexy for the most part. That's kind of where we're sitting for the most part. Like, you've got your straightforward damage dealers that are tops. The druid with the hybrid abilities, augmentation with its abilities, devastation really kind of sneaks in here. Now, Hunter's going to be in a pretty fun spot overall. I'm actually going to grab Beastmaster and put them at the top of B. They're probably in the tail end of A. If they had a little more survivability, they'd definitely be there. Now, I'd say we've got a couple other things that we can play with. Marksmanship. Marksmanship was like down here this past season. I'm going to put it up a little bit higher, probably into C tier based on everything that we're seeing. Really, in Mythic Plus, it just comes down to utility. That's the only thing holding back hunters this upcoming season. So we'll keep playing around with that. Elemental Shaman, LA is in a bit of a weird spot. I'm going to put them at the tail end of B tier because, one, Lust is still in demand as much as like Hunters and Evokers are bringing it, and Mages with Time Warp. There's always going to be a demand for Bloodlust. As well, Enhancement kind of pumped. If you played much of this in the end of Season 2, they were in a great spot. Their tier set's going to be solid. I actually think we're sleeping a little bit on a lot of our hybrid classes. I think Blizz is really going to push to get them a little bit higher, because if not, we're going to end up with, well, another absolutely range dominated meta, and that's not a ton of fun for any of us. Now, talking about dominated metas, we've got one class here that we really need to take a strong look at. We had two like back-to-back seasons of Shadow Priest just being at the top of the meta. Unfortunately, it is Shadow's time to take a bit of a backseat, throwing Shadow all the way back to the D tier or bottom tier, probably best way to think about it. There's still fun to be had with this class, but just the small reworks that we've done, both Shadow and Holy Priest are taking a step back. Disc Priest, however, I expect you'll see that at the top of the meta, so you'll still get your Priest buffs out there, which is solid for us in the Mythic Plus space, but be prepared. I think we're going to see Vengeance and and Havoc across the board, supported by probably most of these abilities, and you'll see there'll be a nice synergy there with that 5% buff to damage, magic damage. Let me know, folks, is this your similar perspective on where we're going to land with Season 3? And ultimately, this will tie directly into Season 4. Blizzard announced at BlizzCon that we're not going to see another 10.3 patch after this one. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Have fun. Enjoy the new content. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.